Hello, thank you for listening to 3 Legacies Recovery Recordings. If you enjoy our program, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to share with a friend. We're also self-supporting, so feel free to contribute to the channel through Venmo at Recovery Recordings 615. Please note that the views expressed on this podcast are solely our individual views and do not represent any official stance of any 12-step program. We are not affiliated with any specific recovery organization, and this content should not be considered as professional advice for alcoholism or addiction.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to 3 Legacies Recovery Recording Podcast. I'm your host, Paul. Today is Sunday, November 2nd, 2025, and this is episode 78. I want to thank all the support on the Facebook page we've been getting. Also, people send us in talks. People send us in emails. A lot of people comment on our YouTube channel. Appreciate all that. You can reach us at our email address, which is recoveryrecordings615@yahoo.com. That's plural, recoveryrecordings615@yahoo.com. You can also find us on Facebook. We have a private Facebook page, which is 3 Legacies Recovery Recording Podcast. You can also find us on Audible, Spotify, iHeartRadio, other major platforms. Sometimes it takes a minute before we update those. I know there's a handful of episodes already on, maybe 30 or more episodes, but we need to start adding more of those to those platforms. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up over this month, over the next couple of weeks. This upcoming Wednesday, which is November 5th, we have Sheldon F. from Las Vegas. It's going to be fun. We're doing an episode on 6 and 7. We're calling it Becoming Entirely Ready. Then also next Sunday, a week from the day, November 9th, we're doing, me and Stephen T. and Jerry P. have been doing an episode or a series on the 12 traditions. We're going to be doing Tradition 4 next Sunday. The following week, we have, Wednesday, the 12th, which is next Wednesday. KDP is going to be in, we've been doing a series, a 12-step series where we've been going through the big book, and she's finally finishing it up. Our schedules have been so busy. It's been a minute since we've been able to get back together, but we're finishing that series up with step 12 on next Wednesday. So super excited about that. A lot of cool stuff coming up. Some other stuff towards the end of the month too. Super stoked about today's guest sitting right here in front of me in his bow tie and his matching hair tie and socks as usual. Today he's got on purple, and that's awesome. Scott L. from Nashville, Tennessee. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, Paul. I am blessed almost to tears and thrilled to be here.
Thank you, man. How's everything going with Scott today?
If it gets any better, I'm going to have to be twins to receive it all.
Twins. Nice, man. Nice. When did the bow tie and when did this start?
It started, Miss Linda, many of the folks know her. She and I were married for a number of years, and when we separated, I guess it'd been about 5 years ago, I just thought I'd wear a bow tie one day. My dad taught me to tie a bow tie before he taught me to shave. And throughout the day, I noticed people would look at the bow tie and smile, and people would comment. A few weeks ago, I flew to Texas to do something similar to this. And on that day, 10 different people commented on the bow tie.
Oh, yeah.
And 2 of those turned into long conversations with really interesting people. It's only really interesting people that will comment.
Yeah.
But everyone looks at the bow tie and grins. And I thought, wow. So I started wearing them. And now I'm not supposed to go unsupervised to a website that sells bow ties because I'm not to be trusted.
Yeah, nice.
I've got about 50 of these. Nice. And yes, I tie them myself. I would not wear a clip-on. And you'll notice it is not tied perfectly. That is by design. Winston Churchill was asked one time why his bow ties were never perfect. And he said, because I want you to know I tie it. And the clip-ons are always perfect. There's another reason for that. Some of the ladies can't stand it.
Yeah.
Can I fix that tie for you? Oh, yes, ma'am. Go right ahead. Thank you so much. I use it for bait.
Nice. It's funny because I've actually been in the airport with you and I've seen, true story, within an hour or so, I've seen at least 3 compliments.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. So for the listeners, me and Scott have we've gotten to know each other a little bit over the last few years, and we are doing today. We're going to do this episode. We're calling it "Clearing the Wreckage." It's going to be on steps 8 and 9, possibly more 9. We'll see what happens. And I think Scott was wanting to start us with a prayer.
Yeah, I always like to start anything. Lois Wilson was asked one time what she did in a moment of silence, and she said, "I invite God to the meeting." And I thought, man, it's not. I don't think God's here. I do think that. But special things happen for me when I stop and honor that presence. And so in a moment, we're going to do that. But I'd like to anybody who's listening, if you don't have a God, if you've got here like I did, terrified that there might be one. Some very well-meaning religious people tried to scare me into being a better guy with God's will and threats of hell and all that. And it didn't work for me. And it left me afraid of God. And that's not the way it needs to work out. So if you're one of those guys, borrow mine. I recommend it very highly. It's got a great sense of humor. Been keeping me sober a little bit over 41 years. And that's a long time for I got only agreed to 28 days. So something is working. So if you don't have a God, borrow mine. Address him as a God of Scott's limited understanding. That'll get you off on the right foot. And let's just take a moment and acknowledge that presence, and I'll just meet you back here. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we right before we started recording, you had mentioned that these you started doing this over the years. You started this with you and Bob D had been doing workshops for let's talk a little bit about that. How did all this get started?
I guess the 4th or 5th conference I spoke at, he was there. We met, liked each other, and he called me a few weeks later and said, "Would you be willing to do a weekend with me?" I said, "Sure." And it was a place called the Paramount Club in Los Angeles. The nickname, they call it the Snake Pit. And he said they can't afford airfare, but they can pick up everything else. I said, "I got plenty of freaking flyer points." And we went, and it rocked. It cooked. It was really something. And people asked us, "Golly, how long have you been doing this together?" I said, "This is the first time we're making up at the breaks. We don't even have an agenda." And I don't know how many of these we did around the world. I know we did Scotland twice. We did Spain.
Wow.
I don't know how many of these we did in different places. And we never had an agenda. We just, about a minute before it's time for the next, somebody say, "Well, why don't you do 30 minutes on this and then I'll take it." "Okay, great." And there we go.
Nice. How long had you been sober at that point? I'm curious.
I started speaking just a month before my 10th AA birthday. I spoke at my first conference. It wasn't my fault. I didn't ask for it. I got a call from Bowling Green, Kentucky. And they said, well, actually, I'll tell you the story. I had spoken about 2 weeks before that in one of the Lvilles south of Nashville, Lewisburg, Lawrenceburg, I don't know. And it was terrible. I couldn't make them smile. I had a terrible time. And I was driving home talking to God like I'm talking to you. I said, "Okay, I got it. I know I have a spiritual message for you want me to carry. And it's not my job to be a comedian. If you want me to speak again, I will, but I will not try to make them laugh." 2 weeks later on a Wednesday, I get a call, and this guy says, "I'm with this sponsorship rally in Bowling Green, Kentucky this weekend."
Nice.
And our Friday night speaker just called, and her mother just died, and she ain't coming. "Would you speak Friday night?" And I said, "Sure."
Wow.
And I drove up there talking to God, saying, "I remember. I will not try to be funny." The truth about my story is awfully funny. And that recording flew around, and 2 weeks later, my phone started ringing, and it still is.
Wow.
I didn't do anything to make any of that happen.
This is kind of a little off the topic for today, this question, but I'm just curious, like how long was you sober before you started talking and having normal conversations like that with God?
Normal conversation with God?
Yeah. It wasn't immediately, right? I'm curious.
It was immediately because
okay.
I had one of the big white light experiences.
Oh, okay.
I've never heard anybody talk about a bigger one.
Wow.
And I knew that night that there was a God who loved me beyond my ability to receive love, who had forgiven me if he ever judged me for the worst thing I'd ever done. There's an interesting word, if you read the big book, you'll notice you have to keep reading it to find the new stuff. And a couple of new things from last year. On page 13, which is where the steps first appear, but they're in narrative form, the 11th line, the last word is friend, capital F. It's a reference to God as a friend. That was a new concept for me, but I got it early because of that white light experience. I do not believe that experience would have carried me 41 years. every year I get to tell my story a lot of times. And every year people come up to me and say, I had one of those white lights like yours and I drank again after it. It was just a cornerstone. I tell people who didn't get one, it wasn't because God didn't love you. It's because you weren't sick enough to need one.
Interesting. Yeah, the reason I asked that question is because there was I was in a meeting last night and I shared about just having conversations with God, and that was not something that came natural for me. Like for me, it was like, my sponsor had to keep, well, have you prayed about it? Well, you prayed about it for the first couple years. My knee-jerk reaction to difficult situations, to like conversations with God or prayer, was years into recovery, and now it's different. It's like, it could be a knee-jerk reaction, but also it's just more like, waking up and volunteering, like what you were saying. It's more like just bringing him through with it, not just in difficulties, but bringing him through with it. Yeah.
He's my best friend.
Yeah.
And wants what's best for me and knows what it is, and I don't.
Yeah. Thank God, right? It's something you can rely on.
Yeah. If I could remember that all day, I'd be a much happier guy, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I'm excited about this. This is clearing the wreckage is what we're calling this, and it's on steps 8 and 9. You want to go ahead and start rolling some stuff?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think there are two things necessary to do steps 8 and 9. The first one is doing the first 7 steps with a sponsor out of the big book. End of discussion. That's the first thing. The second thing is adult supervision. If anybody's new, don't start making amends. It ain't time. My sponsor told me 40 years ago, the steps have been numbered, so geniuses like Scott don't try to take them out of order. That's awfully good information. If you're new and you go to try to make an amend, what you're going to make is a mess. Another thing I think is critically important, my sponsor added the prayer from page 552 to step 4 in the forgiveness process, and I will be forever grateful. I think my favorite misquote of the big book is, more will be revealed. Can you tell me what page that's on?
No.
It's because it's not there. It says, on 164, it says, God will constantly disclose more to you and us. It's the same thing. And I think more was disclosed. And that prayer has changed my life. And I think going to make amends to somebody you're still mad at is a very, very serious mistake. And it does not have good results. It does not. So the forgiveness process is necessary first. Got to get that done. Step 8 is simply a list. And the big book runs 8 and 9 together in the reading. There are 5 prayers, but they're all for willingness, all for the same thing. And I believe willingness, bottom, and surrender all have the exact same definition. It is when someone who's qualified, my sponsor, for example, asks me to do something I don't like, that I don't think will help, that I don't think matters, that I don't want to do, and I do it anyway. Is that do it anyway that defines bottom, willingness, and surrender. And I need that do it anyway as much today as I did the day I got here.
Wow.
I got so much more to lose. I need to stay that way. I need to stay that way. I need newcomer ears. I need them badly. So step 8 is simply a list. And I tell this is how I take someone through. I'm not telling anybody what to do here. This is what I do. I ask him to list everyone you've harmed. It's a very simple thing. And if you can't tell me how you harmed them, you don't owe them an amend. I've spoken at maybe 500 conferences, and I've had this experience more than once. So somebody will walk up to me, and I'm in Kansas City or someplace, and they'll say, oh, you're an amend. I say, okay. And they'll say, well, I've listened to a number of your talks, and I used to think you were a complete jerk, but now I've met you in person, I don't think you're near as bad a jerk as I thought you were, and I'd like to apologize. Does that sound like an amend to you? Because that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying.
Wow.
And what I've learned is when somebody says, oh, you're an amend, I say, first, tell me how you harmed me. I didn't harm you. Then you don't owe me an amend. It's nice to meet you. Excuse me, I need to go.
Wow.
Yeah. So my newcomer, if you can't tell me how you harmed them, you don't owe them an amend. You thought bad about them, did not harm them, it harmed you.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this though. So what about like if it's a situation where like you had a family member that you didn't really show them, like, like you kind of cut them off for years? Mm-hmm. Would you consider that a harm or like?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what
absolutely. Yeah. If you remind me here in a minute, I'll talk about what I would do with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So we have a list, and you can't very well be willing to do something if you don't know what it is. So let's talk about what this amends might look like. Let's take, for example, the first 10 on the list. And the first thing I tell him is the person you're making amends to is not final authority on what the amend is. You and I are. I used to sponsor Big Ken Sweeney, and Big Ken said that when he got sober, before he got sober, he hated everybody and he wished there was more of them. He was in love with hate. And if somebody'd come him to make amends to him, he would have bashed them for the rest of their lives if they would have allowed it.
Wow.
So we're not asking you to turn your will life over to the care of someone who may be in love with hating you.
Yeah.
They are not final authority. We need to hear what they think it should be. But you and I prayerfully will be final authority on that.
Nice.
It's an important piece. So let's talk about what this amend might look like. I asked the men I sponsor not to take the fourth breath when they're making amends. Amends is not a lecture course. Not a lecture course. The example you gave. I wasn't as good a family member to you as I could have been. And I'm ashamed of that. I believe I've done some damage. I'm living a better life now, and I'd like to repair that damage. Do you need to talk to me about how I might have harmed you? What can I do to make it right? The end.
Wow. Nice.
The end. And when I call to make the appointment, they need to know that's what I'm coming for. Don't blindside them.
Yeah, announce it. Yeah.
Don't blindside them.
See if they're okay with it or ready or.
If it's a financial amend, you owe $1,000, show up with at least 100. And if you're absolutely certain you can pay them 100 a month, promise 50 and pay 100. Under promise, over deliver. New concept for most of us.
I love that. Yeah.
We've been over promising, under delivering for a long time.
That's true. That's true. Let me ask you this. So when you're going to approach certain amends, and obviously this isn't a cookie cutter thing, but like, what about the prayers? Like, what kind of prayer life do you have as you're approaching the situation?
I'll give you an example out of my own personal. I flew a gunship in Vietnam, the original side-firing gunship, Puff the Magic Dragon. The guy, we never bought drinks in Army bars. They found out who we were. Oh, my goodness. And later in life, I was a sales rep, and I had a sales manager from one of the companies that I represented who had been a Green Beret. And when he went into northern Laos in the early 60s, he met with the hill tribesmen who were carrying crossbows. He took them M16s and led them in combat on the ground in northern Laos and northern Vietnam for 2 years.
Wow.
This man does not know how many times he's killed with his hands. He doesn't know. And we don't think we ever worked together, my gunship and him on the ground, but guys flying my airplane saved his life a number of times. We were close. We were real close. And we had our blood alcohol mixture absolutely perfect one night when he admitted that he was sleeping with the boss's daughter, who was younger than his daughter and who was just absolutely gorgeous. And I was drunk another time and said something about it and got back to him. Of course, I lied my way out of it. I got sober. I owe this man an amend. And he came to town. He lives in another state. And he was staying at the Opryland Hotel, called me. I said, oh, yeah, I'm gonna come. I need to come over and see you. I said, great, can't wait to see you. I thought, phew. So I'd been told a long time ago, if you want God to be real in your life, you treat him like he's real. So I did my morning prayer and meditation. I asked God to go with me. I held the door for him. Walked down to the car, opened the passenger door, moved the junk, asked him to get in. Got in my side. Drove in a manner that neither endangered nor enraged any of his other children. Parked, got out of the car, walked around, opened his door, and asked him to go with me.
Nice.
I recommend that very highly. And I can remember standing outside his door of his hotel room, about to knock, and realizing if I could be dead in the next 5 minutes. If this guy decides to kill me, I will not even be able to slow him down. And I was able to walk in with God and sit down and tell him the truth.
Wow.
And a month later, my wife and I were guests in his home as we visited his state.
Wow. Nice.
Don't doubt the power here.
Yeah.
Don't doubt the power.
Powerful.
I'm going to ruffle some feathers, and I apologize for that, but you've asked me to share my experience. I do not believe in living amends. No such animal. I can't find it in the literature. And quite frankly, I'm not looking. Because when I was new, I jumped on that. Living amends, that's right. I'm going to be a good guy from now on, and that's enough. Well, it's not. Direct amends means I got to make it as direct as I possibly can. And I hear people say, well, my amends to my children will never be complete. Well, mine are. I've got a boy and a girl there. I call them alleged adults. And I sat down with each of them individually. We talked about it. I asked for their forgiveness. I said I wasn't as good a father as I could have been. I'm ashamed of it. I know I've harmed you. Do you need to talk to me about it? How can I make it right? Please forgive me. We went through that process. They forgave me. I received their forgiveness. Today, I'm trying to be the best father I can be. It's not 9-step work. It's 12.
12, yeah.
Spiritually awakened men who have children try to be good fathers. If I think it's 9-step work, I've not accepted their forgiveness or God's or my own, and I have work to do. And I see people still hanging on the cross of my amends to my children never be complete. I don't buy that.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
Nice.
I'm gonna talk about this too, and there's nothing political in this. This is simply my experience. If I don't share this, somebody might die. As a young man, I paid for an abortion, and it was the thing I was thinking about that night in that treatment center where my soul screamed for forgiveness, and I had my white light experience and received the forgiveness. I get to steps 8 and 9. I owe amends to an unborn child. I didn't think it could be done. I've been in the hands of big book people since my early days. Page 83 says, some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. This has been my experience. Step 4 has some writing involved, but the writing doesn't do much for you in step 4. It's the observations the book calls for and the prayers that will change your life. My experience of this letter is the writing doesn't do much. It is the tears. I'm told that my tears are the holy water that wash the windows of my soul. And if someone can't cry, I do not recommend this. Learn to cry. You can get a hold of me. My email address is the old abbreviation for Tennessee, TENN, followed by the word meadow, MEADOW, at AOL.com. I'm an old man. Send me a request, and I will send you how to cry.
Nice.
I had to be taught how to cry.
Yeah.
I came to you, I hadn't cried in over 20 years. I'm watching a very famous guy in my home group crying about twice a week. I thought I asked him about it. And he said, somebody said something beautiful, it touches my heart, and I weep, and it feels so good. And I said, I can't cry. He said, I'll teach you.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah, I've done the workshop for the listeners. I've came over to Scott. Scott does a workshop on crying. We've done it, and it's crazy because ever since then, I can just bust out crying. I feel okay about it. Like for a while, I felt like I had to hold
Anyone
it
who
back.
disrespects a man that cries, I don't want what they have, so I don't care what they think.
Yeah.
And there's a warning to gentlemen, by the way. If you start crying at appropriate times and places, you're going to attract a lot of women.
Yeah.
Do not call me and complain about this, because they're sick of that John Wayne act you're doing. They see right through it. They're so much deeper than we are.
Yeah.
So much deeper.
Nice.
But that letter for me was more about tears. And I got free. You notice my demeanor has not changed. That's the single worst thing I ever did. My demeanor does not change when I talk about that. Step 9 is a freedom step. We're not punished for our sins. We're punished by them. And when I do the best I can to clean that up, it releases me from the prison of my sin. It may well release them, but it will absolutely release me.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So the term sin, what comes to mind when you think of that? Like when you use it? Like,
I'm not sure if I can answer that.
okay.
It's a serious mistake.
Yeah.
It's a mistake I would not have made if I was walking in the sunlight of the Spirit.
Yeah.
I'm still going to make mistakes. I think it's my assignment.
Yeah.
But they're not on that level.
Self-reliance is real involved. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Self-centeredness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's what I think the same. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they are.
Yeah.
If I could tell all the 12-step fellowships a single thing, it might be this one. Lady friend of mine from Texas was working with a girl who had prostituted herself. And she had herself on her 9-step list. Generally speaking, I don't think the newcomer needs to be on their own 9-step list. We've been making amends to ourselves for several decades. This is a clear exception. This is what they came up with. She sat down and figured out how much money she had made that way. And then she earned that amount of money legitimately and donated it to Magdalene House and some other charities that help women get out of that life.
Wow.
And what she said was, I sold my self-esteem. I'm buying it back.
Wow.
Powerful thing. Don't doubt the power here.
Yeah.
I sponsor a fellow in Kiev, Ukraine. And when he started working new people, he'd call me and say, this guy I'm sponsoring did raw. What's the amend? I'd say, you and he sit prayerfully and ask several times. And the way will be shown. If it's not, call me back. He don't call. God bless his sponsorship.
Nice.
The reason I limit them to 3 breaths, ask him not to take his 4th breath, is if I talk long enough, I'm going to throw in an excuse for myself. And when I do that, I'm going to take away all the power for them. And that's not what we're here to do. I'm told if I want to strengthen a muscle, I should use it. I say I want more faith. Welcome to step 9. Here's a chance to use it. When I get a guy to step 8, as he starts his list, I start him sponsoring. They all say the same thing. I'm not ready. Say, outstanding.
Yeah.
I hope you don't ever think you're ready. I hope I don't ever think I'm ready. The 3 most important things a sponsor can say to a sponsee are, I love you. When I give love, I give God. It is the highest gift. 2, I'm proud of you. I'm on a constant search for ways to say I'm proud of you. And 3rd, and I think maybe most important, I don't know.
Nice.
It's not only okay not to know, it's important not to know. Recovery is a team sport. First word, first step, we. We are on one fabulous team. If I don't know, I will find out. I've got access. I will find out. So it's okay not to know. They're afraid to sponsor if we're going to kill somebody. Well, they are, but it's not going to be their fault. It's not going to be their fault. Because Scott's 2 rules of sponsorship are, if they're ready, I can't do it wrong. If they're not ready, I can't do it right. It's not up to me. The second rule is, I don't take credit for the ones that make it. Because if I do, I get to blame for the ones that don't. Some of them are going to prison, some are going to die. And it's not up to me. It's just not up to me. I've got a simple kit of spiritual tools. And the ones who pick them up and use them are doing great. And the ones that don't, won't. And I'm a one-trick pony. It's a great trick. I just got the one.
Goes back to that willingness, the bottom you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've looked at his first 10 amends. He's got 42 of them. We've looked at the first 10. And we talked about what that amend might be. And of course, his mind is saying, I can't make 42 amends. And he's right, he can't. But he can make 1 tomorrow. We're only a month and a half from finishing this. Yeah. Which one do you want to do first? And almost always I agree with him. If he's in the middle of a divorce and wants to do his future ex-mother-in-law, maybe we won't start there. Yeah. But if it makes any sense at all, say, okay. Call him now, book an appointment as soon as possible. 2 o'clock tomorrow? Outstanding. I'll be looking for your call at 2:15. How'd it go? Great. Who's next on the list? When can you call him? Why can't you call him right now? Great. Book it as soon as you can. Call me. Tell me when it is.
Yeah. And what about, so if they're at it, so this is a common one for me, okay? I'll have a sponsee, he's in a recovery house, hadn't had a license in years, money issues, no good. You know how it goes, right? And then, so like his amends are all like on the other side of the state or in a different state. What about that? What does that look like for you?
The first question is, what can he do? And the second question is, what happened when he and his sponsor sat prayerfully together several times?
Yeah, gotcha.
I won't answer that.
Yeah,
because I think the answer will be different for different people.
Amen.
I believe God bless his sponsorship. Let's give him a chance to do so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Another one that's very tricky, John E., who I believe you know.
Yeah.
He and I were in Banff, Canada. And we did a weekend, and we got to this, and we were talking about, I do this as delicately as I can. If anybody has a suggestion on this, I cannot, on any of this, I want to hear it. But this one in particular, how does a guy make amends to a lady whose charms he availed himself of lightly without making her feel cheap? That is a very good question. Here are the answers. The first answer is, don't make the approach yourself. You don't want her new husband to say, who was that guy on the phone and what did he want? You can't let that happen. So you get a lady from your home group to pick up the phone and call this woman and say, I'm friends with Paul, and he's in AA now, and he believes he's harmed you. He'd like to make amends. Are you willing? If she says, no, we're finished here. She says, yes. Would you like a letter? Would you like a phone call? Would you like it in person? If they want it in person, I'm going with them. And let's make the amend. here it is.
Oh, you're going with them. So with the
Yeah, if she was, yeah, let's meet at a coffee shop. I'm not sending him. I'm going with him.
okay, got you.
That doesn't have to work out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And here are the words. I wasn't as good a friend to you as I could have been, and I disrespected you, and I'm ashamed of it, and I believe I may have harmed you. Do you need to talk to me about that? What can I do to make it right? The end.
Wow.
Powerful. Powerful stuff. One of the reasons I started him sponsoring for two reasons. Number one, he's got some message now. He understands the forgiveness process because he's been through it. He's got a lot he can bring a newcomer. The other, I asked Don P. from Denver, who was one of my great teachers, I said, what's a sponsor's primary responsibility? He says, to maintain the integrity of the message. 2 years later, I asked him the same question, see what would happen. And he said, the sponsor's primary responsibility is to not allow the sponsee to settle for relief, but to get him all the way to recovery. By the time I get him to step 9, his life has changed. He's got a good job. He's bringing the entire paycheck home. He knows where all the dents in the car came from. His key fits in the front door. When he walks in, they don't scatter. His phone rings. That's a miracle. He answers, another miracle. He's sleeping in the big bed again. Now, he may not have crossover privileges, but he is back in the big bed. So his motivation has waned. And my job is to keep him moving. And so one of the ways I do that is I apply the 1 day at a time to scheduling the amends. The other is I get him sponsoring. He is not going to want his sponsee to get to 8 before he finishes 9. It really helps keep him moving. Really helps keep him moving. Yeah, I'll tell you a couple of more stories. A fellow I sponsored in roughly the 3rd grade one autumn afternoon snatched another kid's stocking cap off the top of his head and hid it behind his back. Nobody knew where it went, just boom, the hat was gone. When nobody was looking, he threw it up in a tree and it stuck and hid. And he never came clean about where the hat was. The kid was from a poor family, went through that winter without a hat. Here we are 30 years later. He doesn't know the kid's name and the school's no longer there. Obviously, there's no way he can make this amend. Don't you ever believe it. And he and I sat prayerfully. And the next day, all the kids at the orphanage got Tennessee Titans stocking caps, and my sponsee got free.
Nice.
Don't ever doubt it.
Yeah.
Don't ever doubt it.
So let me ask you this, though. I love that. I'm a pretty sensitive person, right? A lot of things will affect me that don't seem to affect other people, right? So what about that? Like, what's your, for lack of a better term, rule of thumb when it comes to a situation like that affecting one versus the other? If it affects the one, that's when you think you're supposed to do something about it. Does that make sense?
If it's had a negative effect on somebody else, I think I need to do something.
Because there's a lot of things like that in life that we're not even, obviously not aware of, or sometimes, sometimes it's just we can't call it or whatever, right?
They'll bubble up if they need to.
Yeah. Over time they do. Yeah.
They'll bubble up.
Gotcha.
You'll know if you made the amend.
Sure.
Because you're letting yourself out of the prison. You'll know if you're out. Yeah, another one of my favorite stories, a fellow I used to sponsor was at about 25 years old, a vice president of a major brokerage firm on Wall Street. He was making a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
But when he got sober, he was down to zero. He was living in a borrowed car. It was a convertible, and it leaked. And this is for real. This is I'm not embroidered on this at all.
Yeah.
And he had just put together enough money working some little piddly job to get a small efficiency apartment. Comes home and clicks on his answering machine one afternoon. This is what's on it. This is Agent Smith with the Internal Revenue Service, and you have an appointment at my office at 1010 Church Street, Suite 400, Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. And if that's in conflict with your schedule, I'll suggest you change your schedule. Click.
Wow.
And he walked into the agent's office, was hit with a bill for $162,000.
Wow.
He's a little bit short on $162,000. And he said, what should I do? And I said, collect the paperwork they asked you for. Treat God like he's real, like I already told you about. Ask him to go with you, hold the door, move the junk, put him in the car, drive safely. He said when he walked into the agent's office the second time, there were 2 chairs on his side of the desk. and he knew he was going to win. And 6 months later, they wrote him a check for $1,200. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Spiritual mathematics.
Yeah. I was not there, but a friend of mine was. And at a meeting some time back, somebody handed the 9-step promises to somebody who was still in treatment, who probably had never seen them before. Had read, fear of people and economic insecurity will level us. It was.
Yeah.
And I thought, boy, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Don't take the counsel of your fears. Don't listen to them. They're lying to you. They're lying to you. I like sometimes to quote non-recovery sources. I don't do very many, but I'll do my favorites. The noted American philosopher Hank Williams Sr. once said, there are a lot of good ideas in a pint, but not so many in a quart.
That's funny.
And the noted American philosopher Brett Maverick once said, you can fool all of the people some of the time and some of the people all of the time, and those aren't bad odds.
Yeah, that's fun.
But the one that applies here, I think, is from the American philosopher Alfred E. Newman. You know who that is? It's a guy on the cover of Mad Magazine.
Okay.
Who once said, most people don't know what they want, but they're pretty sure they haven't got it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah, it is. It really is. That I was so afraid when I read the steps. I had the big white light experience. I'm reading those steps. And nothing could have been clearer in my mind than the obvious and firm granite fact that steps 4, 5, and 9 were designed to punish me. And I was absolutely certain of it.
Wow.
Wow, was I wrong.
Feeding the monster.
Wow, was I wrong. Yeah. A girl in my home group some time back told this story. She was in line at a bank just to cash a check, and all of a sudden there's a hairy arm around her throat and a pistol in her ear, and she's the hostage in a bank robbery. And what she said was, as she stood there, she was physically uncomfortable, not free to go about her business as she would have preferred. But if she could have stayed in the moment, she was really okay. Her fear was that he would shoot her or that he would kidnap her. And that's when I got it. All of my fears are in the future, all of them. I have my own definition of fear. Fear is the deep concern I may not get my will at some time in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got these funny things we say, I'm having a good day, I'm having a bad day. You know what that means?
So,
Good day, my will's being done. Bad day, my will's not being done.
yeah.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
That's what it means. And that can be right down to the moment. If it's not going my way right now, my will's not being done. Well, maybe God's will is. It was easy for me this morning. I've seen this work so many times to offer God my will in my life and offer him this day. It was easy. You know what's hard? Offer him the moments, moment by moment.
Turning to him. Rightly relating ourselves to him. That's what I always kind of look at it like.
Yeah. To just simply be his guy.
Yeah.
Moment by moment. I've got one more piece on this. This is a gift from Miss Linda. I've been with her for a while when she gave me this. She calls it good amends. She said, you're very much aware of your sins of commission, things you did that harm people. What you missed are the things that you failed to do that harm people. Like what? Well, like thank them. I thought about that. When I was a senior in college, I was going through ROTC, and I had signed a contract with the Air Force. If I could graduate from college and pass a pilot's physical, they would send me to pilot training. They didn't guarantee I'd get wings. I was going to have to get through that, but they would send me to it. They commissioned me as second lieutenant and send me there. And part of what they did for us is they gave me 30 hours of flying time as a college student. And we thought it was to give us a jump start. It wasn't. They were looking for the guys who couldn't walk and chew gum. Because in my pilot training class, we started at 75. We only graduated 50, and we didn't kill any. So 25 out of 75 just couldn't do it, or they couldn't do it fast enough. And but my instructor was a retired Air Force colonel, and he was mean as a divorce lawyer. I mean, nothing I did was ever good enough for him. I'm going to quote him. The pattern altitude is 1,000 feet, fathead. That's what he called me. I'm at 1,003. Yes, and you're supposed to be at 1,000. You can just barely read it. Yes, I can read it. Get it to 1,000. And he taught me to fly it that way.
Wow.
He saw quickly that I was one of the gifted ones and could have coasted easily, and he wouldn't let me. And the fact that he taught me to do it like that in the first 30 hours set up my Air Force career. I flew for 5 years. I got 2,500 hours of flying time. The lowest I ever finished in anything was second. And all of that time flying.
Nice.
And that one time I finished second, my friend said I got politically screwed out of first. I should have been first because of what he did. I was able to go back and thank him for that.
How long was it for you was able to actually start seeing like that? Like see that like, wow, I didn't see that at the time, obviously. Yeah.
I had 20 years.
Yeah. I think that's probably what a lot of this is as we start to wake up to this stuff and take on the role of other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, spiritual awakening, there was a moment this morning when I was asleep. The very next moment I was awake. When I did my first prayer, I was more awake. When I stepped out of the shower, I was more awake. When I had my first cup of coffee, I was more awake. Spiritual awakening is of that nature.
Yeah.
And there's always another awakening.
Thank God.
There's always another one. I've learned so much in the last year. I'm sitting at the feet of the grand masters of this thing. You know that. You've heard me talk about them. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
That's the most exciting part of it. But it's possible to go back to sleep spiritually. I need to get some balance in my life. I'll come back on my AA and watch a few more ball games, and everybody cheats on their taxes, and I don't need to bother my sponsor with that, and I can go back to sleep spiritually.
Yeah.
So the first part is to get awake, and then the second part is to stay awake. I want to talk about a couple more of my good amends.
Okay.
I went to my major professor in college. I said, you changed the course of my life. Without you, I would not have graduated from college. You've set up my entire life. Thank you. I went to my mother. Well, she was one of the first amends I made when I was sober, somewhere in the neighborhood of a year. And I said, I wasn't as good a son to you as I could have been. I know I broke your heart. I'm living a better life now. I'm ashamed of what I've done, and I'd like to repair the damage. Do you need to talk to me about how I harmed you? What can I do to make it right? The end. Mom does not need to hear my fifth step. If she needs to talk about what I did, you bet I got to sit there. Absolutely. And yes, you were right. Yes, I did that. But she doesn't need to hear my fifth step. It's not going to help her a bit. But I need to take responsibility. So I had done that. And then Miss Linda told me about this good amends thing. So I went to her another time. This would have been 10 years later. And I said, I want to thank you for being my mom. Nobody had a better mother than I did. Thank you for the freedom. Thank you for all you taught me. Thank you for all your sacrifice. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for the freedom to go what was my time. Thank you for backing me up when I made my mistakes. Thank you. You were a great mother for me. And I went home and I wrote that in a letter and I mailed it to her. My mother died in a nursing home of Alzheimer's and she didn't have much left. She had that letter. And I would challenge anyone who's listening to this. To whom do you owe good amends? Who didn't you thank? Or who didn't you thank as profusely as they deserved? Don't start there. Don't start there.
Yeah.
But it is a magnificent experience.
Yeah, wow. So and your mother was one that you reapproached, because this is a common thing as I start sponsoring guys, like with some years, and my personal experience was like, yeah, I went and made this amends and I wasn't that sober. And it was kind of like, it wasn't really, they don't feel quite right about it, right? So when they're reapproaching it, is that something kind of common in your experience?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's frequently someone else owed thanks to.
Yeah.
But I don't like doing them together.
Gotcha.
And I don't know why that is. It's just not how I did it.
Gotcha.
I think it's good to do I harmed you. I do not allow the men I sponsor to use the word sorry. No one believes that. We wore sorry out 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
Nobody buys that.
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong. I believe I've harmed you. I'm ashamed. A combination of those. Great way to go. Sorry, they don't believe it.
Yeah. How can I make this right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here to make it right.
And it's heartfelt. Like the other person, it touches. It's wow.
Something else that's good to say is I have a great sadness. That's a beautiful phrase to use anytime. That opens my heart and theirs. I have a great sadness.
So what about, that's good. Well, and what situations are like do you like riding? Like for example, you talked about riding to the unborn child. What other situations? Like when you say like when things we can't do, what are some?
Anyone who's grieving and having trouble getting past their grief,
Yeah.
I recommend that letter.
Riding.
And I recommend a couple of things on it. One is to have someone there who will prayerfully hold the space while you write it,
Wow.
and who will hold you when you cry. If you can't cry, I do not recommend this. I recommend learn to cry first, because the tears are the magic in this. And what I did when I wrote the amends to the unborn child, when I finished the letter and I thought I was finished, I was told to sign it, "Love, Dad." I had one more good cry in me.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I was handed a plain white envelope and said, address the envelope. I said, what? Where's that child? With God, right, in heaven. Address the envelope. And I addressed the envelope to an unborn child in heaven. No return address. And I was told extra postage. That's a long way from Nashville. And I mailed it. In my lineage, we do not hear fifth steps, we exchange. And one of the guys I sponsored called me several years later. And he said, when I did my fifth step, you talked about the abortion. I don't have that. I'm now sponsoring a guy that does. Will you sit with him while he writes his letter? I said, you know I will. When he finished his letter, I handed him the plain white envelope. He said, no, I want to burn this. Not in the sense of destroying it, but I want to send it in smoke. I said, great. We went out to the garden. He lit it on fire, burned it till it was all ash, ground the ashes up in his hands and put them on the roses, and he got free. And I don't have his permission to tell you that. He begged me to tell you because he got free. That's what happens in this thing we do. When someone gets free, they can't wait to share it with somebody else. That is so common among us.
So true. My experience.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned exchanging fifth steps with sponsees, which brings me to a question I was thinking earlier. So how often do you, for lack, I don't know what the word, but officially go through the steps? Like how often?
Myself?
Yeah.
I've been through the steps, I think, 28 times in 41 years.
So every couple of years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every year or two.
Yeah.
I'll get a new guy and I'll go with him. I'm working with a guy right now in England, and he's coming up on 3. We just got to how it works in the book, and I think I'll go through with him.
Nice.
I did my last 4-step on an airplane in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If I stay current on 10, 11, and 12, there ain't much there.
Yeah. Yeah. My last 4-step I did, my wife walked into the Dollar General, and 25 minutes later when she came out, I was finished.
You bet.
I do enough inventory.
Yeah.
It's simple. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. What about, so when you're doing if you just have to guess on an average, obviously we're going back and taking care of a lot of the stuff in 10 as we go through but what about, so on an average, does your amends process now look more like the thank yous and stuff that you didn't do, or do you actually have several?
I think my amends are complete.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So what does 9 look like now for you?
I just search and see if I made any more mistakes, see where I've done some harm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
When I said that, a little bell rang in the back. I think I've got one that's not complete. I've done it, but I don't think it's complete.
Gotcha.
I'll explore that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Connection.
What I said before I think is so powerful. We're not punished for our sins. We're punished by them. Step 9 is a freedom step. It's where I free myself. The locks are on the inside of this prison, and I have the key, but I have to put it in the lock and turn it. And that's what step 9 is.
Wow, this has been great. Thank you so much, Scott. Again, I want to thank all the listeners. If you want to tune in, me, Scott, and Barkley we're going to be at the very end of this month on Sunday, November 30th. We're going to be doing another episode together. Come check that out. And again, just want to thank all the listeners. Feel free to email us at recoveryrecordings615@yahoo.com. And I hope everyone has a wonderful night. Have a good one.
Hello, thank you for listening to 3 Legacies Recovery Recordings. If you enjoy our program, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to share with a friend. We're also self-supporting, so feel free to contribute to the channel through Venmo at Recovery Recordings 615. Please note that the views expressed on this podcast are solely our individual views and do not represent any official stance of any 12-step program. We are not affiliated with any specific recovery organization, and this content should not be considered as professional advice for alcoholism or addiction.
I tell them I'm a long-term AA member. I've got an interesting story.